Good. Let me put it here. All right, let's start with the new project. Make directory, and let's call it week 1. We start by creating package.json and open VS Code. Change package.json to type module. So we use ES modules. Good. Let me install some dependencies like Express, and I'm gonna install Morgan just because I want to see the logs just for testing purposes. I just misspelled Morgan. Okay, let me install NodeMon. So I restart my server every single time I do some changes. We're all good. Let me add script. I'm gonna call it start. That's gonna run NodeMon. If I go over anything a little bit fast and you don't understand what's happening, let me know.
Professor, what were we using Morgan for?
I'm using Morgan just to log the requests in the console. I want to see what's going on in my server. This is just for testing purposes. And it's good that you know whether your server is taking too much time serving a certain request, because it gives you how much time it took for the request to be served.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I'm going to create an app.js.
Professor, are you recording
yes,
this session?
I did start recording, yes. Let's create web server. App equal call express. And I'm going to listen to port 3000, call a function that's going to console log listening on 3000. Let me test if everything is okay. So NodeMon, npm run start. For some reason, my port is busy. Okay. Let me test this command and try to run again. Did not work. Let me test another command. Did not work. Let me try to find which service. So it's down like it's like this. Okay, kill -9 for some reason. 82188. Good. What I did is just make stuff to kill whatever service was listening on port 3000. I don't use different ports. Today is garbage collection day. My dog is certainly angry about the picking up the garbage. All right, let's define some routes for the application. I'm going to create first routers / meals router.js. And in here, I'm going to import the router from Express. And then I'm going to create a router instance. And then we don't forget to export that. Now I can define all the routes for the meals. So I'm going to need a get to slash, post to slash. I'm going to get meal ID. I need one for put. I need one for delete. So that's basically REST design for an entity called meals. Let me hook all of these with app. So within app, I'm going to say app.use. And then for anybody who says /meals in plural, I'm going to use the meals router, which I need to import. Import meals router from the routers meals router.js. Now let's go to the meal router, and I need a controller to every single route that I created. Okay, so let's go and create that. Controllers. I'm gonna call it, controllers folder, and then meals controller.js. And in meals controllers, I need to export multiple functions. So export function gets all meals. I'm gonna, that's fine. That's one. I need another for add a new meal. I'm gonna need one for get meal by ID. I'm going to need one for delete meal by ID. And I'm going to need one for update meal by ID. Now, if I go to the router, I can add my controller to all of these. So get all meals, good. Now the autocomplete is not quite correct all the time, so make sure that you fix any issues here. And here I need to add meal by ID, add a new meal. This one is get meal by ID, good. This one is update meal by ID. And the last one is delete my ID. Now I should basically have still my server up and running. Yes, so I know that all is good. Now we can start implementing the logic to add the meals, update the meals, and get the list of the meals. I'm going to create the meals. Inside models, I'm going to create meals.js. So within meals.js, I can export default. You can simply just expose an array that you will have some data within. However, as we were experimenting, me and you, yesterday and today, I just discovered that ES6 modules are different than require. While require allow you to assign a new reference to the data that you import, import and ESM modules treat the entity that you import as immutable. So you cannot make changes to it. You cannot assign new reference to it. For that reason, instead of exposing array that I'm going to always change, assign new reference if I need, I'm going to expose an object instead that has data property, which has my data. This is just a trick, so I can just make changes to this, assign new reference to this. Nobody's gonna complain. But I cannot assign new reference to this object. Whatever I import is going to be immutable. Something we will only face when we work with data in memory like that. We will never do that in real life. And I don't encourage that you do that. But we need to just get some API going until we learn next week how we work with the database to persist all this data in a real database. That shouldn't make big changes to us. Now that I prepared my data in a file, let me go to my controller, import this data. So import db from model/meals.js. And now I can read my data as db.data. Since I'm going to assign maybe new references to this one, I can assign this to let, and I know that I have my data ready to be mutated, changed, assign new references, whatever I want with it, to do with it. Now let's add the implementation to serve routes. So get all meals, const meals equal data. Basically, the meals would be just the data array, all the collection. And from here, what I can do is response.json all my meals. Next one, add a new meal, okay? So I need to parse the body to get the meal. I need always to understand what's coming in, what to do with it, and what to return back. In the case where I need to add a new meal, I'm gonna receive a meal in the body. So the first step is to parse the body. To parse the body, I need a body parser. And I'm going to use JSON parser from Express to do that. So app.use JSON. This middleware is going to parse all the body for me in case it exists, and then pass it along to the meals. That's good. Let me go back here, define my inputs. So I'm going to receive a new meal from the request body. And what I want to do with it is to push it into the meals, into the data here. So what I can do is data.push, and I can do the new meal. That would be perfectly fine. I can also do another technique, which is I can say data equal, I can create a new array, spread the old one, and then add the new meal at the end. So this way, instead of mutating the same array with pushing the new meal, I can create a new array, spread the old data, and then add one extra element. That would be also fine. Both of these techniques are fine. And for now, I can just send data just to make sure that I am adding a new meal. Now, in case of a real database, you probably need to send the database response, whether a meal was added or not, the ID of the meal that was added. But in our case here, you can just send the data to see it. I'm going a little bit fast probably, but again, if you stop me at any time if you're confused. We need to get meal by ID.
Professor,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
We don't need the the three functions request, reply, and next in every controller's function.
Thank you so much. Let's add all of this layer, which is going to help us build some infrastructure. Maybe for now, if I'm making any mistakes, and for next week when we deal with real data query. Next week, we will convert all these arrays to queries. So yes, let's add this layer with a try catch. And here I can call next the error and add the logic in here, which tells me that I forget that every single function of these would read request, response, and next, which I forget to add earlier. Good. Now that I added this, I'm gonna add it here as well. Add it everywhere as well. Oops, not this one. With an empty body. Because I added try catch, it reminds me that I need to go back to app.js and handle receiving an error. So I'm gonna create one extra route for route not found. I'm gonna use app.all stars request response and next. In here, I could simply go to the error handler, and that would be next with a new error. No route found. Now that I created one extra error in case nobody handled my request, I'm going to create a request handler. Add.use a function that has 4 parameters: error, request, response, and next. And in here, I can say response dot status. I can say it 500, for example, dot JSON. And with the JSON, I can say success false and some message, which is the error dot message. Or maybe I could pass the error object for now completely, so I know exactly what happened. Any questions?
Professor, how can we make the error handler to return different kinds of status codes? Like in this case, whenever we have an error, it will return 500.
Either set it earlier so you can read it, or you have to do some if-else statements to switch the status code based on the problem. So you don't need to send one general status code. Probably we do that when we do the real database. We can start differentiating between route not found and server errors. For now, let's just keep it simple this week and then just failing status code. Okay. Any other questions? Let's complete the meals controller. We want to get meal by ID, so I'm gonna receive meal ID from the params, and that would be in all of the 3 routes. So in all of these, I'm going to receive a meal ID from reg.params. I'm gonna need that in all 3 routes. Then I'm gonna return only one meal by ID. Of course, you should handle errors, but I'm gonna assume that I'm gonna find the meal, which is going to be data.find me a meal, which has meal._ID that's 100% equal to the meal ID that I received in the params. find will return the first element that match sorry, the condition. After I receive that meal, let's send it in the response with JSON. Next, I need to delete meal by ID. I get the meal ID. We can delete it with filter. So I can say const meals equal data.filter. I'm gonna keep all the meals. I'm not sure what I'm typing here. So I'm gonna loop over all the meals. I'm gonna receive a meal, and I'm gonna keep the meal._ID that is not equal to the meal ID I received. This way, I filter out this meal. Now, of course, I can assign this back to my data instead and send a new result as just to confirm that yes, the meal was deleted. Last is update meal by ID. So what we can do is to use map. So again, I'm going to replace, map is immutable, so I'm going to replace all the meals with data.map. And here I'm going to receive one meal at a time. So I'm going to say if the meal._ID is 100% equal the one that I'm updating, then we're going to change it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep it the same. So I'm going to return the same one. Otherwise, I'm going to return the update, which is something I'm going to receive in the body. So in the body here, I'm going to receive a new or updated meal. And now what I can do is I can take this, I can create a new object for the meal, spread all the properties, and then spread over the updated meal. This way, if I'm not changing all the properties or just one of the properties, I make sure that only the update that I'm sending is going to replace the old ones, and I keep the old ones intact. Is there anybody who's not familiar with the spread operator? Is it clear what I'm doing? You don't have to do it this way. I'm just doing it in one way. So updating the meal, what I'm doing is I'm going over all the meals array. Once I found the one that I need to update, I'm gonna send an updated object. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep it as is. How I'm doing the update, I'm creating a new object for the meal. Spread the old one and spread the new one. The new one properties will replace the old ones, and hence I am updating. But of course, you don't have to do that. There are a million techniques to do that. Finally, let's send some response to confirm the change. Time to test. So meals test .http. Yes.
I think the meal ID is wrong. We are assigning the all request params.
You are right. We should destructure that because params is an object. So I'm gonna destructure this object and get the property from it. You are right. Yep. Let's test. Get request to HTTP localhost 3000/meals. That's the first one. We separate the routes with 3 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need post to meals. I need to get meal by ID. I need to put meal by ID, and I'm going to delete meal by ID. And the post and put, they have body, and the body would be JSON. So content type is JSON. Then I can send the JSON object here. The same would require the put request. Now let's add a new meal in here. I'm going to get some help from here. And I could possibly add one with ID 2 that says rice, fried rice. The category would be Vietnamese. I don't know, forgive me. Ingredients, we will deal with ingredients later. So I'm going to keep it as an empty array. And let's here change the title of meal 2. And basically, we need to leave a space. Let's call it Syrian fried rice. Why not? Okay, let's test. I'm going to run my web server. That reminds me that I forget to include Morgan so I can see the logs. So let's add Morgan. Morgan. And before I do anything in my app, I'm going to log. So Morgan there. Yes, my web server is up and running. Good. Let's test. Meal test. Get all meals. I did receive the default data, which is 1 meal. That sounds good. And Morgan logged my request here in the console, so just it helps me to see what's going on. I'm gonna post a new meal, and I see that the meal was posted as fried rice. Let's get just the second one. So I'm gonna change this to 2. Yes, this route is sending 1 meal per ID. Let's try to change the fried rice to Syrian fried rice. Send. Yes, now the meal number 2 was changed its title to say Syrian fried rice. Let's delete this second one. Yes, the second one was deleted and only spaghetti bolognese left. So now my first route is working fine. We're ready to move to the next one, ingredients. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
In the post request, the example.
The
So
put
why
request.
The post request.
The post request, yes.
Yes. Why we including the ID in here?
Because I'm not using a database, and I need to control this entity somehow. So I'm manually adding the ID. When we shift this code to a real database next week, I'm not going to include ID because the ID will be auto-generated by the database. Here we're kind of doing stuff manually, yeah.
Okay, so I did generated by my own.
Yeah. Good, good. Yeah, that's also fine.
Professor?
Okay.
Yes.
Is it okay if you also write the code for patching for the request patch?
Well, that's a good question. Basically, the code I've written support patch. Why? Because I'm only spreading the update. So if you send a full new one, it will be replaced. And if you send a single property, it would be also patched. So patch and pull here in this quiet, let me call it smart way, can work for both.
So yeah, I got it now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Let's go to ingredients. And the ingredients are a subarray that I need to control from the meal itself. So I need to find the meal before I can control its ingredients. Let's start with the router layer. So you could definitely now here, take all of these 4, 5, put them here, then add ingredients to all of them. And we're good. We change, of course, the controllers, and we're good. Note that you cannot have here, sorry, app.use meals slash meal ID slash ingredients. This line of code will not work because colon meal ID is a string here because this is use. Use treat the URL as a string. And I need to have here a dynamic meal ID. A dynamic meal ID can only be defined within a route, like get, post, not within a middleware route. So I cannot add that in here. You can either add them all within the same file of meals router, or you can create their own router and then attach it as a middleware within the same route. Most of you probably did this, so I'm going to do this another technique to show you how I can attach multiple sub-routers within a main router. Because I'm going to repeat almost the same code, I'm going to copy this file, go to VS Code, and create a new router. I'm going to call it ingredients router.js, which should find all capital M meals and replace it with ingredients. I need good. And at some point, of course, I'm going to create an ingredient controller that will have all these methods that will control this. Now that I created a router REST API for ingredients, I need to attach it to the main router. And I can go here and I can say router.use, and then I can define a route as meal ID slash ingredients. I don't have ingredients over there, right? Good. And then I can use here the router, ingredients router. Let me import ingredients router. Any questions? Now, in order for this relationship to work, I need to add one more flag, which I don't quite remember the syntax for.
Merge param.
Yeah, it's called merge params. Say it again. Okay, so what we need to do for this to work is when I go to ingredients, I need to add some options here and say merge the params. So this router now will understand that what I have here is some params, and I want this params to be merged with this params. If I don't add this flag, basically meal ID would be just another string. So I need to express that I am receiving params and I want them to merge with my params, so they are parsed correctly. Now it's time to implement the logic for all the controllers to basically push, add, delete objects inside the ingredients array. Let's do that. I'm gonna create ingredients controller.js. I think I'm gonna copy my previous controller, put it all here and clean it up. I'm literally going to clean it up. And here I'm going to get the same data set. And instead of capital meals, I'm going to replace it with capital ingredients. Good. I think these are the methods names. We should be all fine. Now, let me take a look at this data. Remember, I need to find first the meal and then access the ingredients array, and then we are manipulating this array. Okay, so how can I now get only the ingredients that belong to the meal? I need to find the meal. So because I need to find the meal every single time, I'm going to create a method called find meal by ID, because I'm gonna receive a meal ID, and from this meal ID, I'm going to get the ingredients array. So find meal by ID, which accepts meal ID. And I should return here the meal. How to find the meal? Const meal equal data.find. I need to find the meal. So here I'm going to receive all the meals, and I'm going to return the meal dot underscore ID that's equal to the meal ID that I'm receiving. That will send me back the meal object. So if I need that to be returned, I can return this guy. Now, how do I get all the ingredients? All right, so I can say response.json, find meal by ID. That's going to be a little bit hard line to work. So I'm going to create something called ingredients, which is going to be find meal by ID. Const get the meal ID from the params Pass it to here to find the ingredients. This is the meal. And now I can return meal.ingredients. It should work. If not, we can adjust.
Professor, line
Yes.
number 5, meal.id.
Line number 5, yeah. Oh,
Yes, good.
it will be, find me the first one that has underscore ID equal to this guy. Yes. Now that I returned all the ingredients to this meal ID, time to add a new ingredient. So I'm gonna receive the ingredients in the body. Let me define that as an input. You don't have to do that. I just like to put my input, processing, and output. Just my preference. So I'm gonna create a new object called new ingredient, which is going to be rect.body. And now we can say, let's get the meal again. After I get the meal, what I can say is meal.ingredients. I can do the same techniques that I did previously. Equal a new array, spread the old ingredients, and add the new one. You don't have to do that. You can do just a simple push. And now let's return the meal.ingredients to make sure that the ingredient was added. Next, any questions? Next, we need to get one ingredient by ID. We always need to find the meal first. And now I can find this ingredient. So const ingredient equal, I'm gonna search this array, dot find. Find will receive all the ingredients, one at a time. I'm going to keep the one that's ingredient dot underscore ID that is matching up the ID I received from the params. Now this is quite like duplicated. What's that? Why I have my name here? So here I can have my ingredients. Okay, now that I found my ingredients, let's return it as JSON. So response.json, the ingredient that I just found. And all the rest of the queries will accept both of them, ingredient ID and meal ID. Ingredient ID and meal ID from the params. Most of the things we're doing is just array manipulation. And I need the meal in all of these as well. So let's add it. Next, I want to delete an ingredient. I can do it with filter. So I can assign, I can say meal dot ingredients equal meal dot ingredients dot filter, which is going to receive the ingredients, and I'm going to keep the ones that are not equal to the ingredient ID. So ingredients dot underscore ID that is not equal the ingredient ID.
Professor, I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes.
What if we want to delete it from the array?
That's what I'm doing. filter is going to delete the item from the array. It will keep the elements that have ID not equal to the one that I want to delete. So basically, I'm deleting the item from the array with filter. I have someone here join this session with me. How is that possible? Oh, someone has joined through Teams. Cancel control. Abdullah had control over my machine. How did you do that, Abdullah?
Sorry, Professor. I don't know. I did not
maybe
do
you
anything.
pressed control and I gave you control by mistake. Then I was like,
No, I did not press the control. I just pressed the participant, next participant button, and then I have.
Oh, interesting. Teams feature must be. Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Yeah. Okay, so we removed the ingredient. Let's confirm that. So rest.json. Let's take a look at the list again to make sure it was deleted. And finally, I want to update ingredient by ID. Let's return the same one. So now how can I update an ingredient? I want to map every single ingredient and change the one that, same technique that we did with meals, we're going to do it with ingredients. So meal.ingredients equal meal.ingredients.map. For every ingredient that you receive, if the ID match, then we're going to make a change. Otherwise, we're going to return it as is. And here I'm going to do also the same technique, put and patch together. So I'm going to return a new object after I spread the ingredient and then spread the new ingredient, which reminds me that I need to create or have reference to it. And we should be good to go to test. I'm doing the same technique I did with meals. Any questions? Yeah. So ingredients test.http. I will use some help from here. And here I always have a meal that I need to update, and then ingredients. So let's work with the first one. Oops. Good. And here we can do stuff like control another ingredient. Now, in order to add a new ingredient, I need the shape of the ingredient. And the ingredient would be like this. ID 3, and it is going to be cumin. And I can say a pinch. And whenever I'm going to update this ingredient, I'm going to change the amount and say a couple of pinches, just to test if everything is working fine. Let's run the server and see if I have any problems, because I remember noticing some problems earlier. Yes. Can't find modules router imported from router.js. So let me check my, yeah, here I forget to add .js. Okay, sounds good. Test ingredients. Get all ingredients. Yep. So the first test data that I already have do have 2 ingredients that were returned when I passed meal ID 1. Sounds good. Next, I'm going to add new ingredients. And since I'm returning here all the data, I see, oh, I just added here new meal. That's funny. I needed to add a new ingredient. And look at the send is waiting. So apparently I forget maybe to send a response or something. Apparently we have a problem. Let's go to the route. Yes, I finished everything and then instead of returning a response, I said return, which is wrong. I need to send the response with the new list of ingredients. Let's test again. Show me all the ingredients for meal 1. Good. Add a new one. Yes, now cumin was added. Let me just get the cumin, which is number 3. Sorry, 3. Test. Yes, just the cumin came back. Let's
Professor?
update the amount of the cumin. Yes.
Sorry, what if I want to add number of ingredients in an array? Not only one ingredient, but a couple of them.
Oh, more
Since,
than one?
okay. Yeah.
And that is up to you how you want to handle that. But the way I'm going to do it is inside the controller, when you add a new ingredient, what you can do is to check this new ingredient, whether it's an array of one item. So instead of sending here an object, here's what you can do. Let's say here we send an array. And if the array has one item, you just push it. If this array has multiple items, you push them all. So that's a way to push more than one ingredient in the array. Send an array of either one to add a single ingredient, or send an array of multiple ingredients and add them all. That could be how you could do it. The last test is deleting cumin. So let's delete cumin. Yep, cumin was deleted. So my code is working fine. Any questions? Let's remember the other requirements that needed for this homework. Okay, I see it's 10:55. So before we look at the other ingredients, finish these requirements, and then work on the extra requirements, how about we take some 10 minutes break, and then we can continue after the break. Alrighty. Before I continue, is there any questions about the work we've done previously? The main skill that you need to take from this, not array manipulation. The main skill is one, how you deal with ESM modules. Maybe this is new for you. You've been using require CommonJS specs before. So it's good to get yourself familiar with ESM modules now. The second thing that you need to take away from this exercise is design nice REST API that respect a plural noun name for the entity and the standard HTTP verbs that control the entity. That's the main takeaway of today's exercise. The next things, let's see. Just to test API, log all requests to a file. Yeah, we can do that using Morgan npm. I think we can find some code for that in Morgan. Here it is. So we can do that and then do that. That will save. We need a file stream and we need to change the way we import Morgan. You find all these requirements in the documentation. App.js. Okay. So instead of Morgan dev, app.use Morgan discount stream. I don't like to use var, so I'm going to use const. Set up the logger. We don't need this comment. Create. We don't need this comment. This line is replacing this line. Remember, we need path, we need fs, and we need to replace something with directory name. Yesterday, I copied some code that does that. So let me try to find that from within my code. So ESM modules don't have directory name, and we can do url.file URL to path, and then we extract from input meta URL the directory name. And let's import basically fs, path, and URL. 3 of them need to be imported. And that should take care of logging every request. Same here, join. So basically, I don't need path.join. What else? Yeah, all of them are used. Let's test. My server is up and running, and I'm going to send some requests here. Get, post, get, and I should see now a file called access.log that has all 3 requests that I just sent logged into the file. So that's good. What else? For the post and put routes on the meals entity, so basically the routes that require a body, create and apply custom middleware to verify that the name is not null. Otherwise, you should throw an error. All right, so apparently we need the middleware to do that. Let's create that middleware. I also like to create a folder called middlewares because I might have more than one. So I'm going to check name.js. And here I could export default function that's going to accept the request response and next. And obviously I need to check the body. So const. I don't need const. I can say if rec.body.name. If I do have a name, then all is fine. Otherwise, it's not fine. And the way I say it's not fine, I can say next, new error, name is required. Name is required. And let's apply now this middleware into the route. Remember,
Professor,
yes.
I think in a need doesn't have name. It only has title in the middle.
Oh, it's title.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can.
You can check the data.
Yeah, I can check the data. Yes, you're right. It's title. I can say title is required. Oh, here it says name. Yeah, let me fix that. For the post means the entity if the title value is not null, otherwise, okay. Comments. Good. Test meals. So let's say I'm gonna try to add meal without title. Before I can test, I need to apply the middleware. So let's do that. Where is my router? This router. I'm gonna apply here. Check name. Control space. Good. Sometimes it comes with .js, sometimes it doesn't. Now it's just magically happens. Good. And same for here. Let's test. Meals test. Get all meals or good. Try to add this one. So here data is just an empty object. And I think it's the way my error handler is coded. It's like good here. App.js. It's just in the error object. I don't think it's an empty object in this case. And let's test again. It's an empty object. How? Why? JS. Title is required. Sounds good. I'm going to maintain from now on to send a proper error object so I can extract the message from it so it is displayed in my error handler. Good. So remember, in the middleware, you should always either continue or you throw an error. You never stop the flow of the request. You either send it forward or you immediately throw an error and the error would send something back saying that something was wrong. Any questions? Let's read the rest of the requirements. Add node modules. Yes, we should always add this guy. I'm not gonna push, but why not? Dot git ignore, and I add this folder here so I never push it in case I wanted to push. What else? Let's work on pictures for the meals. So in order to upload a picture, we need someone to parse binary body. Okay, and luckily we do have a package called Multer that does that. Multer, and there's a version of Multer for S3 as well. I'm gonna use Multer, just upload it to my folder. Let's install Multer first. Let's see. Install Multer, run my web server. Okay. Now, how do we use Multer? Basically, they tell you that you need to do something like that, and then use it as middleware from the code example. So let's create a route to upload images, and let's create a route to retrieve images. And since the pictures belong to the meals, I can either have the images as sub-entity of meals, or I can just add them here because it's only 2 routes. It's up to you. Maybe it is best to create a new router for this sub-entity. Or let's create a new sub-router, similar to what we did with ingredients. So I'm gonna copy ingredients and create a new router. I'm gonna call it pictures router. And I'm gonna add a new picture. And I'm going to get picture by ID. I think that's the only thing that we want. And that would be pictures controller. So add a new picture with posts. So I just need post and I need get one, which is picture ID. I don't need the other routes. So I created 2 routes for the picture, post a new picture and get picture by ID. And I'm gonna make changes to my meals router now to include the pictures router when somebody goes to /pictures. Let me import the pictures router. Sounds good. Let's implement the code for the pictures router. The picture router, when I post, I need to use Multer to upload the image and then save the image inside the object. And the way we upload, as you saw the code here, I need to add these 2 lines. First, we need Multer, and Multer needs to use ES6 syntax, ESM syntax, create an upload instance. It says here I need a folder called uploads. Let's create this folder. Then I need the middleware to be applied before I continue with my controller. Now the field that you are going to add in here is the field name of the form element that holds the input. Usually every control in the form element has a name. So I need the name of that guy. I have a file here, test file, that's going to send to pictures to the meal1. A file called puppy.jpg exists here. I need to add the ID. And as you can see, the name of the field is picture. So I'm gonna take this name and add it here. It's called picture. Now I should test and inside add a new picture. Oh, I don't have pictures controller yet. Okay. Let's create pictures controller. Pictures controller.js. Pictures controller would have only 2 controllers. And that would be pictures router, these 2. I'm going to clean up this file. I need these 2, add a new picture and get picture by ID. I'm going to clean everything up. That would be the pictures controller. And I'm working now on add a new picture. So what I need to do now to make sure that I am receiving a file. Add a new picture controller should receive the file that was uploaded in here. And from the documentation, they tell you, you get it from rec.file. Let's make sure this is the case. So I'm going to console.log rec.file. And let me send the response so it doesn't like get stuck. Okay, 1. Let's test if the picture upload is working. Is my web server up and running? Yes, good. Send request. Request was rejected. I have an issue. Oh, it's different port. We need to change the port to 3000. No route found. So I have a mismatch in the route. I did some pictures. Yeah, pictures. I misspelled pictures. Let me send it again. I did receive OK1. Sounds good. Anything printed? Yes. So rec.file contains this object, which is nice. Let's copy this and save it. Save it in here. So I know now that what I'm receiving is this object. Okay. Let me check the folder. Inside this folder, I see my puppy. Open anyway. As you can see, it doesn't have extension, so I need probably to add an extension to this file. But everything sounds like good. So what we need to do next is save, push the item to the pictures array. Obviously, before I do that, I need the meal, which is something we already did before. Let me go to the ingredients controller, find me by ID, borrow that guy, and then have the same logic to get the meal. Now that I got the meal, I need to push to the pictures, a new picture. We're just gonna save the picture name. All right, we're not gonna save any other data. So I can say here, data. Oh no, we're going to manipulate the meal.pictures. So I can say meals.pictures equal, I'm going to use the same technique of creating a new array, spread all the old pictures, meals.pictures, and then I'm going to add a new picture. Now, apparently here, what we have in the question, the picture is also an object, right? So I close the requirement. Because we need probably to add, is it an object or just a file name? It has to be an object, yeah, see that? So it has an ID and file name, ID and file name. So let's do that. And here we have a struggle of generating IDs, but since I'm gonna send the ID from the testing HTTP tool, then that would be fine. So I can just here spread. Oh, I'm not gonna send that. I should send the ID as well. I should send that in here as well. So let's also send a JSON that has the ID. Of course, I don't remember any syntax about that. I just copied that from the documentation. REST client. Control F. Let's see multi-part. Multi-part. Okay, here's this thing that I copied. So here is a second thing. I can add another content to the same request. So here I'm going to send content type JSON. And let's send also an underscore ID with the image. So I don't need to generate that at the backend. In a database, the IDs will be automatically generated. You don't need to worry about them. For now, we're just going to have to take care of that. Okay, so I'm receiving also in the body an underscore ID. So here I can create a new object that has underscore ID. Const destructure underscore ID from tag.body. So now I don't need, if you have something like this in JavaScript, you can just replace it with this. And the next thing is file name. And file name would be something that I received from this guy, which is, well, apparently Malter is changing the file to this string. So what I can say is the file name is rec.file.file name. And maybe I can add an extension to it. So I am pushing this object into the meals pictures. And that should be enough. So why did I find the meal by ID? Yes, I need to replace it with meal. Meal. Good. Now, instead of sending back OK, let's make sure that we did add this to the pictures. So I'm going to return the meal.pictures to see what we pushed inside this array. Let's test now. I'm gonna stop this console log as well. Not needed anymore. Let's upload. Meal.pictures is not iterable. So there is no pictures in the database already. That happens because the meal didn't have pictures by default. Usually in a database, it will be created. So let's fix that. I'm going to go back to my model and prepare meals or prepare pictures with an empty array. Now it is something that I can iterate over. Save. Yes, I can see I did save the file name correctly. However, the problem is the ID was not saved. So let's fix why. Here I have, is it the same form? Check. Yes, it is the same one. And here I'm sending JSON underscore ID and 1. Let me go back to the controller. I said from the body. Let's make sure I'm receiving a body. Let me test. Yeah, I printed undefined, so no body is received. Let me check Multer again, documentation. Maybe I'm missing something in Multer. Multer npm. So rec.file will hold, if avatar rec.body will hold any text fields, if there were any. So Multer does take care of that. Maybe we should separate this further. Yeah, I think the request wasn't properly sent. Still undefined. Let me check the documentation again. Maybe you already set the content type to multiform data, so basically we need content disposition. I think so. So the way I'm sending the request is not correct. So I can say form data, and then I'm sending underscore ID, and then maybe the value now is 1. Test this now. Yes, now I received 1 with a space, so let me remove the space. Send the request. Sounds good. Now I'm receiving the underscore ID from the response, and I'm saving the right file name. Good. Now the next step is to try to read the file by ID. And in order to do that, I need to find the file name and stream it back. So let's try to find the file name by the picture ID. From the params, I'm going to receive 2 things, the meal ID and the picture ID. I don't have a body here. This is a GET request. Let's get the meal. Let's get the meal. And now let's get the picture. It is meal.pictures.find Find me a picture object that has ID equal to the picture ID that was requested. Now I get the picture objects. Now the picture object has a property called file name that I need to stream out. So how do we stream something out? In Node, probably you know we have something called Stream API, and let's use this guy. So import from fs, and there is something called create readable stream. This guy is going to create stream, and I will be able to stream it back to the response. So I can say create readable stream. Where does the file come from? Since I am inside controllers, I need to go up. It's going to be located inside upload with S slash. Then I have the file name, which is picture objects dot file name. Okay. Now, once this readable stream will be created, I'm going to pipe it into the response. And that will be enough to send the picture out to the whoever client is asking for. Let's test this code. I guess I don't have any pictures right now because I'm using memory, and memory is flushed every single time I restart the server. So as you can see, I have no pictures at the moment. Let's add one. Here I am. I did add one, which has ID number 1. Let's try now to stream out from meal1 the picture 1. Get request, socket hang up. Right? No such file or directory, uploads, blah, 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 JPEG. All right. Apparently this upload thingy didn't work. We need to work with path to construct a nice path correctly. We cannot just do something like that. So let's do it with path instead. I think we did some path here in access log. So let's get path and join. I'm going to go to my pictures controller and inject this in here as well. Go back to app. I'm gonna take this line, go to the controller, and see how can I make changes. So create read stream join. This is the current path. It's supposed to work. Next, I need to go up. Next, I need to go to uploads. Next, I'm going to picture file name. Okay, so let's do all these parts. So after I got the current URL, I need to go up. After I go up, I need to go to the uploads folder. After I go to the uploads folder, I need the picture.file name. I don't need to pass any flags. I need to pipe that to the response. Let's test this guy now. I just push one picture, try to read the picture. Create write stream is not defined. What happened? It was defined earlier. create a read stream. Oh, this is the write stream. No, that's wrong. It's a read stream. Write stream is for writing the log. Read stream is to stream something, read it and stream it out. Test again. Here I have one picture. And we have a problem. No such file in. I think the extension is wrong here. Oh, the file does not have an extension. The file is saved on the hard drive without extension. That's okay. So we just need to fix that by removing the extension from here as well. Okay, good. I'm gonna test it from my browser. Yes, here's my puppy. Trimmed out nicely. Test it from here. Yes, I did receive the image, but it's just VS Code cannot display binary data, so it's all fine. Any questions?
Sir, can you share again about how we fix the ID?
I added the ID in the. Now I'm dealing with this REST client tool. Copy pasting a multi-part request might not look very friendly, and I agree about that. Use Postman, or later next week we will start using UI. We will send the file and the JSON from the browser, from Angular application. We don't have to deal with such complexity like this one. But I'm using this because I wanted to test using the same REST client. But you don't have to do that. I just added this here to send the ID manually. We don't have such cases when we use database or proper client. Yes?
So we only fix on the data, input data, we don't fix on the code, right? Or the ID one.
Yeah, so I'm sending the ID from the body of the request here with the file.
Yeah, thank you, Professor.
Just to get it work. Any other questions? Now that we completed these requirements, I highly encourage you guys to practice with the main skills. What are the main skills? REST design, hello, you're back? I assume you're back. My Bluetooth headphone switched to the phone. Okay.
We can hear you, Professor.
We are not hearing you, Professor.
Yeah, that's good.
We didn't hear you, Professor. No.
I think
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Can
can.
you hear?
Yes, no.
Oh, Theo. Let's introduce to Theo. So I was saying just practice with everything as you've never done it before. So it's like the first time you're coding this example. Do it from scratch, even though you have already some seed. The more you practice, the easier everything will become to you. Okay? You have today afternoon, tomorrow, you have Sunday. Study well. Understand node event loop really deeply, and understand the child processes really deeply. Okay? And practice designing REST.
Sorry, Professor, we cannot hear you.
Or how about now? Good now? Okay. Every single time the phone receives a message, it disconnects. Yeah, and practice more and more and more. That's
So you said
your
REST,
yeah.
Designing REST API and event loop, and also child process.
Yes, these are the main skills from the first week. Okay, so review all of that, and at any time you're stuck, you have problem, even during the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I'm available 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to assist you. So don't hesitate. Don't waste time too much spending all nights fixing a bug or error. Some of you still doing that. Don't do that. Call me, it's okay. And if I'm sleeping, then you should sleep at that time too. And next week, we will look at MongoDB. We will learn all the queries and stuff, and we will really have fun persisting all the data there. And that will be good. It's going to be sunny weekend. Enjoy the sun. Have a good rest, and I will see you next week.
Professor?
Yes?
Can you tell us also what we should expect in the exam from this week, like from what we studied this week?
Don't stress out about exam stuff. Right now, it's too early to think about the exam. I know you're concerned, but...
So that we prepare ahead, like...
As I mentioned, understand the event loop properly, understand child processes properly, and understand REST design. That's how you could prepare. And these are the objectives of week 1 is going to be questioned. So the same.
Professor,
yes, question.
Is it gonna be not a question? Is it gonna be online or in person?
The exam is going to be in person and on paper.
No. I mean, like the class from Monday.
Oh, I have no updates from MIU about the COVID situation. So I'm going to send you a notification on Teams about whether we're going to be in the classroom or another online session. How is the online work is going with you anyway? Are you struggling because of this format or things are going well?
It's going well for me.
Going well for you? Anybody does not like the online delivery? So far it's good. All right, so let's say that by default, the next Monday's lecture is going to be online, unless you receive something from me to tell you that it's going to be in the classroom. So let's assume it's still going to be, because I was in the airport yesterday, so I was in contact in touch with people from different places. So maybe it's best that I quarantine a little bit more. Okay.
Yes, Professor.
Have a good night. Have a good evening. Have a good afternoon and the rest of the day and weekend. See you on Monday.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
I will
you.
zip this code and send it out to you anyway. So find it in the same channel like yesterday.
Thank you,
Professor.
sir.
Thank you,
All
Professor.
right.
Have
See
a
you
good
guys.
Professor.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.